that's where it's really gotten I guess I would call it just an immense level of gratitude, but it does not feel like gratitude because it's really uncomfortable. I can't think of any better place to be. I mean, shit, half the time, no, pretty much all the time. When I was drunk, I was uncomfortable anyway. I was just uncomfortable with less motor skills.
Well, hello, friends of Bill W. and other friends. You have landed on Sober Speak. My name is John M. I am an alcoholic, and we are glad you are all here, especially newcomers. Newcomers, that is, both to recovery as a whole and newcomers to this podcast. Sober Speak is a podcast about recovery centered around the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. My job here on Sober Speak is simple. My job is to provide a platform to the amazing stories of recovery all around us. Consider Sober Speak, if you will, your meeting between meetings. Please remember, we do not speak for AA or any 12-step community. We represent only ourselves. We are here to share our experience, strength, and hope with those who wish to come along for the ride. Take what you want and leave the rest at the curb for the trash man to pick up. Greetings from Studio AA, deep in the heart of Texas. That was the voice of our friend, Mr. Andrew A., that you heard at the beginning of this here episode, and you are going to hear so much more from Andrew in just a moment. But first things first, this here episode, the one you're listening to right now, episode number 409, is made possible by Ian, Susan / Holly, because I can't figure out exactly what her name is, Terry, Adrian, and Todd. And so you say to yourself, what exactly did Ian, Susan / Holly, Terry, Adrian, and Todd do? Well, they went to our humble little website, www.soberspeak.com. They clicked on the little yellow donation tab, and they made a contribution. So thank you so much, Ian, Susan / Holly, Terry, Adrian, and Todd. This here episode is coming right out to youans. All right, so this is a unique episode. Okay, this is Andrew A. Part 1. And the title of this episode is going to be Immense Level of Gratitude. I just want to let you know that we have a trigger warning on this one for a couple different things. Anyway, if you're triggered easily or you just get triggered at all, you may not want to listen to this episode. You can listen to one of our other 408 episodes if you would like. But I just want to let you know that. Andrew has been, if you're interested in going back and listening to more of Andrew, and I got a feeling a lot of you are going to want to do that after you listen to this here episode. Andrew is on episodes number 12 and 115 that we have recorded on Sober Speak in the past. And we are coloring outside the lines a bit with both this episode and Andrew's next episode, which we're going to feature next week. We have 2 parts to Andrew. As you will notice from the beginning audio clip, you will be laughing and crying and looking at things perhaps in a way you have not thought about them before. Andrew has definitely an interesting point of view on a lot of things. He's going to cover a wide range of topics, including trauma therapy, his alter egos, Jason Bourne. If you know who Jason Bourne is, Taco Bell, Sonic, yes, the fast food places, fear of being used, a a methodology called IFS, for those of you who are familiar with that, and parts, and much, much more. So, everybody, I present to you Mr. Andrew A. What else do I need to tell you? Oh, yes, we will have plenty listener feedback at the end of this episode. Enjoy. Okay, everybody, so we are back at the mic. And when I say back at the mic, we've had him on a couple of times before. I still get comments from people that listen to his older episodes. And he was actually in a meeting with me the other day. We were having a conversation on the phone afterwards, and I've been wanting to get him back on. It was just a matter of working out his schedule and my schedule. But we have the one and only Mr. Andrew A. So,
Thank you.
Andrew, go ahead, introduce yourself, give your sobriety date if you wish,
Yep.
and go ahead and tell people where you live in this great land of ours.
Yeah. So Andrew Alcoholic, and my sobriety date is May 2000.
Okay, so, anyway, so where do you live?
I live here in Dallas, and actually, today, before coming over here, I looked up at the dates in May 2000 because I don't know the date I got sober. It was like 3-4 day bender. And I came up with the 25th because I remember one of my first memories in this last route of sobriety where I was like, wow, this really works, was actually that following Saturday, where I woke up and I had gone to a meeting, and that Saturday I woke up and I had all the money that I had the night before. My car was there. My wife knew where I had been. I spent probably more time running through a morning inventory like I usually did every day. Like, what did I F up and what do I need to fix? But I was like, no, I was sober last night. Oh shit. And, and then on Sunday it was the same thing. So that for me is when I went back and I was like, it was definitely the 25th because, that last time I came in, I really just ended up having like a confessional with my wife. She was out of town. I had to bend her, and I woke up naked, a blackout, which were not common for me. And I didn't know where our 1.5-year-old was, and the front door was open. So I did what every alcoholic would do in that state and cleaned up all evidence that would point back to me after I found the kid. I mean, I was battling evidence and the kid. But that night it was just, you just feel awful. And I told her everything, and I went to a meeting, and, I had a fake sponsor, an armed candy sponsor, the one that if anybody says, do you have a sponsor? I would go, yeah, it's Greg over there. And I went to Greg and I told him, and he just started laughing, and he goes, you're an alcoholic. What'd you think was going to happen? Man, I was like, shit, you should not be laughing at this. This is life or death. This is very serious. How come I'm not the center of your universe right now? But that's how it took off. So yeah, tomorrow will be an official 25 years. And I remember coming in and out going, fuck, I'm not going to drink at my daughter's wedding. She's getting married in 6 months. I did my son's wedding sober. It's not even about the drinking. It's the fact that I'm present for these events in a way that I'm really uncomfortable being present, which is feeling the feelings, and having compassion for my wanting to leave, or I could have done better. This wedding should be bigger. Like, it's always about me, and it's always about you. And that was the big thing, it's like, if I'm uncomfortable, I was comfortable, then you showed up, and now I'm uncomfortable, so it must be you. So like, the wedding made me uncomfortable, so the wedding must be a problem. Me not drinking made me uncomfortable, the not drinking must be a problem. So there was I know now that if you're blaming other people, you have not done your internal work. And it makes sense that at the beginning, myself would be in a blame game, because there's just no way I'm the problem. Like, after all I've suffered, after all I've tried, like, I'm agonizing over this. You don't know the pain I'm in. that kind of thing, right? And then eventually you just go in and figure it out. Holy shit, the whole time it was me.
Right.
And, I'm going to these weddings ecstatic with happiness, with the ability to work an emotional scale without having to run away. I could be sad that she still holds on to baby blankets with cigarette burns from when I used to drive drunk from picking her up from daycare. And at the same time, be incredibly happy that I can feel that sadness. And here I am, present, of service, content. I guess that's pretty much it, man. I mean, that's where I am right now. I mean, the road we'll bullshit about, but that's where it's really gotten to. I guess I would call it just an immense level of gratitude, but it does not feel like gratitude because it's really uncomfortable. And I can't think of any better place to be. I mean, shit, half the time, no, pretty much all the time. When I was drunk, I was uncomfortable anyway. I was just uncomfortable with less motor skills and a much shorter temper that I thought was actually a good sense of humor.
Okay, so I want to a couple things. Number one, I want to talk about that internal work you're talking about there just a little bit. Okay. So, because I know a lot of what you've been through over the past couple of years. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I want to talk to you about is I just have to say this, and I have to have you go through this again, because it's still in our house from the first time I saw you. My wife heard you talking about one of your alter egos, which was Ashley.
Yeah.
And Ashley still comes up around our house. And I know I can't remember who the others were, but you have like 3 or 4 alter egos. Will you go over those alter egos again?
Yeah, there's, unbeknownst to me, I was already doing the work without doing the work, right? Like that was the beauty of AA, where you stop drinking and, things do get easier. But then they don't, because you have to deal with what's happening. And as I was dealing with what was happening and I was going through the steps, what it did for me is it just like that line in the book where the door just got cracked open for God to come in, albeit I didn't call him that. I really thought, I talked about this at a meeting where I thought I was being willing. No, I told you I was being willing. Inside, I knew I was being maliciously compliant. I was just trying to get away with the next thing. And just like with alcohol, where I tried it just on weekends, or maybe just vodka, or maybe just out of the bottle, or whatever, the answer always ended up with, I'm a drunk. And spiritually speaking, I could try meditating, I would try jogging, I would try journaling, but I was still had a spiritual malady where I was getting angry and uncertain as to where I was. And I would try the meditation. Then I would try just a walking meditation. Then I would try that gratuity list. And at the end of the day, it was a similar result. At the end of it all, I was still not where I thought I needed to be. And so I started, I had listened to a podcast about pretend you're riding in a bus and you're the driver and Jesus is with you. And it's a meditation. And, whoever gets up, he comes up to you. And my first character was Angry Andy. I mean, he was wearing a biker jacket and about 8 years old. And man, that dude was pissed. We had Horny Andy. That dude was in boxer shorts all the time. But Ashley was my favorite because I still channel her. Sometimes I'll see somebody that's like, my ego acts up and they're in better shape, or or taller, or they have a better car, and Ashley will pipe up and remind me nobody likes skinny white bitches. So Ashley likes to eat.
eat, right?
Yes,
so that's where it comes up.
That's
in
where it comes
right
up. Yeah.
when we're eating too much, we go, "Oh, Ashley's coming out."
Ashley's. So that how it would come out is so I was no longer drinking, but I'm still living. I'm still lifing, and so I'm going through work like I would, drinking, but I'm no longer drinking, and then something would make me uncomfortable, whatever, a phone call, an email, something I forgot, and my immediate reaction. Now, this is me talking now, but I would always know I would want to escape it, right? Hence, the alcohol was so effective at whatever was going on in my head. Well, sometimes, man, when Ashley's alive and I'm like in a deteriorated stress state, right? I'm not working with my best brain. I'm pretty much fight, flight, fawn. My decision making is, can I fuck it? Is it going to fuck me? Can I eat it? Is it going to eat me? Can I live with it, or does it want me to live with it? I can't resource meditation. Jesus is nowhere near the room. I don't even think he's on the planet when I'm in that space, right? So I started kind of going through this, and I'm just, analyzing it. And so I would wake up, like something would happen at work, and next thing you know, I would wake up from a blackout maybe 90 seconds later on my kitchen island, 3 spoonfuls of peanut butter later, going like, what just happened? I was never like, I always thought it was like that. Oh, my ego said, this must be what Jason Bourne feels like. Except, he was trained to be an assassin. I was just trained to escape pain. And so Ashley is around all the time. Yeah. Every time I pass a Sonic, oh man, that bitch speaks up. I love me some Sonic.
And you mentioned that you've talked about this before, where when you were first sober, Taco Bell was kind of the thing that got you through.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, it's one of the things that my sponsor asked me to do. I mean, there were a lot, but one of them was, hey, how do you drink? And I never really blacked out. I never really drank a lot. My wife worked at night. I worked during the day. So I had to maintain a buzz, per se, because we had a kid. And this is towards the end. And, before, when I was a chef, it was like balls out all the time. Every day Saturday. Like every day's Mardi Gras when you're a chef in a restaurant. It's fucking awesome. It's like food, liquor, women. Sometimes it's women, liquor, food. Sometimes it's just food. Fucking Ashley. But anyways, so I knew that I loved drinking on an empty stomach. And I knew that because my body told me. I just wasn't listening. That space and time when you get just to that, I'm there. Like even just touching your lips, my body was telling me, like Pavlov's dog, around 2:33, I would start like, oh, I know where I'm going, what liquor store I'm stopping by. Let me get my pink lemonade, because I was pink lemonade and vodka jam, And I just remember going to liquor stores, and I would only buy 4 airplane bottles. And Samir behind the counter would always tell me it was a much better economical choice to go with the bigger bottle. And I'm like, Samir, you don't understand. I drink the whole fucking thing. I need to open 4 bottles. If there are 4 tiny ones or 4 big ones, it doesn't matter to me. Andrew's going to drink 4 or whatever. And so I knew it was around 3:00. I would start drinking, and I had to be on an empty stomach. And so this is verbiage from now, not from back then, but it's universal, is he taught me how to fuck with the pattern before the pattern fucked with me. And so I would go there and eat like 3 or 4 bean and cheese burritos around 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. Whenever I was getting to that level of fasting where my body would go, now we drink. And I was like, no, we don't. We're going to eat. And I never like fucking drinking beer on a full stomach. Like I never understood drinking alcohol with a meal, because I never drank it for the taste. It was always for the, yes, the fucking voices are now in unison. Mm. The whole break room is quiet.
The whole break room is quiet.
And so I did that. And so I would eat, and then that would pattern interrupt the drinking. Eventually, the eating got to a point, more meetings are happening. And then I was like, okay, I definitely wanted to get off the eating, but I went to cigarettes. I went to a lesser evil, yet evil. And then from cigarettes, I bounced on to jogging. which I hate jogging. If you see me, like I'm made to only fucking run away from things. Not like I'm meant to push cars to gas stations
Right.
and carry people, so that's how it went. And now, like I learned that lesson at 31, 32, and now at 50, I see the value of it when I'm dealing with an emotional scale where if I feel depressed, anybody I talk to, for one, they've been through it and it's going to be incredibly uncomfortable. And I know millions, billions, trillions of us have gone through it, but when you're fucking going through it, you're alone. You're fucking all by yourself. And just asking for help is in itself a heavy, heavy lift because we're in that part of the brain that I just described earlier. I don't know if I need to curl up into a fetal position to the left or to the right. Those are the only choices, like I'm fucking dying here. And so when I'm depressed or going through a bout of depression, I can't go to happy. I certainly can't do content or at peace, but I can do angry. And from angry, I can go to disappointment. And from disappointment, I can go to sad. And with sad, I can pray. I pray at each stage to just get me to the next lesser, worst one. So it's kind of like the recovery. I had some pretty heavy shit going on for a while, then I had to taper off. Complex issues have complex solutions. But when I'm wired for immediate results and I'm afraid of pain, holy shit, you're speaking a whole different language to me now.
Right.
Healing is not healing. Healing is more pain. That's what I've been fucking running from. How fucking dare you ask me to sit with my thoughts? Our joking, have you ever been in the neighborhood? That is very real. I work with people where they're like, well, what's going on in my head? I'm like, that's kind of the fucking point, dude.
Okay, so I want to talk about that a little bit. Like I said,
Yeah.
I know what you have. I don't know how to describe it. I'm going to let you describe it,
Mhm.
but I know that you've done some work. And so this is not, even though I try to be as close to the traditions with AA as I can, this
Right.
is the kind of stuff you generally would not talk about in a meeting.
Right.
But I know you've been doing some counseling training and now you're doing the counseling. And I want you to talk about that a little bit and what you've discovered about yourself and others.
Yeah. So I also had the same, and I did talk to my sponsor and journaled and prayed in a sense of, if I try something new, am I running away from the very thing that I think is helping me? And again, am I just doing a 10th version of the same problem, which is Andrew can't stand Andrew, so he's now trying to find something else, right? But I believe in the body does keep the score, like that book talks about, and spiritual maladies manifest themselves in the body. And I was going through, tension on my neck and in my stomach, and I was sensing fear in the middle of a meeting, and there's really no reason. It was very incongruent.
And how sober were you at this time? 28, 21?
Yeah, I probably had solid 20 years.
Right, okay.
And this is where Ashley and Horny Andy and Angry Andy come up, because that's really what it was. And children knew this before, even us as children, when we talk, a part of me feels this way, a part of me feels that way. Cognitively speaking, we're taught to believe we're one way and we should only be one. But the truth is that we're psycho-spiritual individuals, and we're unique. There's just no way about it. What might have hurt me would be not hurt you, like in Drop the Rock. It says it, two people walk out of a meeting, one walks out with a gift, one walks out disappointed. It's the same fucking meeting. And you whittle this down to families. I mean, I have 3 kids. 3 kids have had 3 sets of parents. My first one had me as a drunk, undeveloped, just fighting with myself. My second one got me fucking sober and starting to discover who I was, opening the door, willingly opening the fucking door. The third one got me past the door. So day 3 can talk about 3 different dads.
What do you mean by opening the door?
So when I did the steps, when I came in here, my favorite, I have several favorite things in the book, but that one, just when we talk about God, it's like, I have a really negative relationship with God. I really thought he existed to fuck with me. And when they said go with God, I'm like, bro, that's the dude I'm running from. You know, people that don't know, I come from very complex trauma. You know, I was raped as a 6-year-old. And then when that was done, my mom beat the shit out of me for it as if it was my fault. And I carried that. Then I go through training and I realized that every victim of trauma blames themselves. You know, there was no processing of this information. So there's all this confusion. I had about 20 years sober. And I'm thinking kind of like what you're getting at is like, God damn, man, I got 20 years sober. I'm over 50. I'm highly educated and I'm not afraid to fucking learn. My cup is half empty. And yet I feel an internal emotional landscape that's suffocating me. And I thought it was anger, but it was sadness. You know, I thought it was fucking anger, but it was shame. And these things surface. And the only way they can surface is because I cleared the other stuff up. You know, the house of cards has to be dismantled the same way it was built. So if the first fucking card got laid down at age 6, you know, and now we're 50 dealing with this and we're dealing with anger with the wife, well, look, everything precedes the relationship. But if the relationship is the most immediate threat where it's causing you some sort of discomfort, and that's the one we deal with, and that's the first card that comes off. And we try to take them off as gingerly as we're putting them on. I never did. I always threw the whole thing down and would build it again. I mean, my wiring is such that if I'm driving a car and it gets a flat tire and I don't have a spare, I'll stab the other 3 fucking tires, grab my shit and walk away from the car, flipping it off. Like, I burn bridges before I fucking cross them. You know, like, it was all because of my fear of getting used. That comes up. At age 40, I dealt with my rape. That's 36 years after the fact. You know? Or 34, whatever the math is. And it was just simply my son making a statement about an adult, basically calling the adult an asshole, which he was, and the wisdom of children is real. But I thought, man, you haven't met any assholes yet. And then it hit me. Man, I got a 6-year-old between my ears calling me every derogatory homosexual name you can think of and holding myself accountable. Man, I had to go back to that space and relive that event as a child because I was judging it from an adult perspective. And the only adult perspective I got was shame, guilt, and anger, which is what was shown to me would happen if that happened. Not her fault, not anybody's fault. I'm just modeling what was shown to me. And I was doing it inside my head. I even knew as a child that was wrong. So this is when we talk about these different things that alcohol just buried for me. And as the alcohol clears away, and I talk about cracking the door in the big book, I said, when I cracked the door, and the first time I did the steps, and the first time I do any step, they weren't that honest. They were about as honest as I was comfortable being honest. And my spiritual life, the how wide and how high it goes is in direct proportion with how deep and low I'm willing to go within myself and dive into that fucking well. The deeper I go, the brighter it gets. Big fucking lights cast big fucking shadows. There are just some facts of life that I'm going, these were truths that I either didn't understand or the way they were taught to me I didn't get. But I said, yeah, I'm not afraid to fucking work on this thing, right? And so I got into like a quick example is I feel that I grew up in a highly critical environment, always being told what to do and taking care of others, and my behaviors manifest that, right? And so I don't do that to my kids. I just don't. And I have had conversations with them and they understand that I don't push you. I don't do any of that. I don't demand. I don't critique. I don't put you to work in my house. And I broke that generational behavior. But yet in my own head, guess who's still talking to me that way? So that polarization, now I was sober. I was studying. I had done the steps. I had cracked the door open. God had come. And now I had a greater level, which is what I think the steps would do to me, is now it opens up some self-reflection and self-compassion. which is what I didn't have for myself, so I couldn't have it for anybody else. It would make sense I'm short-tempered with you. I'm short-tempered with myself. As it is within, it is outside. It got really fucking woojy for me. And thankfully, one of my sponsor's friends said, hey, Dr. Bob was that way. So in a sense, even though I stray out of AA, I feel that was the most AA shit I could do, was be radically fucking pragmatic to road towards a solution for me. So it wasn't a dive out. It wasn't an explosion out. I can't take this shit. I'm out of here. It was actually a dive in. Let's figure it out further. And so that led me to the self-compassion, through YouTube, like anybody else. I mean, I've repaired toilets in my spiritual life with YouTube. And I fucking put in a stereo in a 92 Toyota pickup. That thing is badass. But there's a lot of screws in that fucking dashboard. But the point being is that YouTube, and just like a meeting, I'm able to watch, like, where I gravitated towards initially was addiction and kind of like internal turmoil, and Gabor Mate came up and Dick Schwartz came up. So compassionate inquiry.
Okay, and those
and
are
internal family systems.
Internal family systems.
Yeah,
right?
and these are just, whoever's listening is gonna, if they know, they know, and I'll probably describe it wrong. And just so you know, I'm informed. I'm not saying I'm not claiming to do anything. I'm not. I'm just, the way I explain it is just, it's very much a spiritual, physio, experiential way of dealing with ourselves.
And I see you sometimes after so you do this work with others now.
Yes.
Right. And I see you sometimes, and I guess you call it trauma therapy, basically, right?
Yeah, it's trauma-informed, complex trauma-informed therapy, yeah.
Okay.
Or coaching, I should say.
Coaching? Okay.
Coaching, yeah.
And I see you when you have come to a meeting sometimes, and you describe it to me, because you take on other people's trauma, and it has some sort of effect on you, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right, yeah.
It can.
It can, yeah. So, I mean, physiologically speaking, right out the gate, stress is addictive. So if I come in here stressed out, we talk about the law of projection. If I walk into your house acting like an asshole and you treat me like an asshole, who's to blame? Well, that shit is happening within our own ears, within our own parts. We're attacking ourselves all day long. Well, now we're talking here in this 3D world where you and I are looking at each other. Stress is addictive. I walk into your house stressed out. I'm seeping shit out of my skin, and your skin is absorbing it. That is an organ. And now all of a sudden you're stressed out. That, to me, was incredibly confusing. How could somebody talk about sexual abuse and next thing you fucking know, that chair becomes a time machine and I'm in the most uncomfortable seat in the house for me. Or someone's talking about how they treated a child or a wife and so I would take those and I would actually could live that because I have lived that in my own life. I think that's where the groups in our meetings are such a huge glue component, because we're monkeys and I'm learning through all these other people, things that I didn't even things I knew I was feeling, but I didn't really have the words to express. And then I hear somebody go through it. And this is kind of how YouTube and compassionate inquiry and all that came about, is I would see them work with an addict. And then I would hear them show such compassion for that addict. But of course, I'm on the other side of the screen. As far as my imagination and my spirit and my heart are concerned, I'm that guy that doctor is talking to. And so the questions are coming up. And so what I take on is I understand the feeling and the emotion, where before I would get trapped on the story. And I think that's where a lot of us get into. It's like we want to talk about the trigger all fucking day long. But the trigger ain't the fucking issue, dude. I'm the barrel. I'm the powder. I'm the, I don't even know enough gun parts to fucking go through this, but I am the rest of the gun. I'm the bullet, I'm the finger. I'm all that shit. And then here we are yelling at the fucking trigger. That's the things that I would start looking at from that perspective, going, and through AA, like once I was able to have that level, that self-compassion, which was shown to me by my sponsor saying me too, by me going to groups and them saying, hey, this is what I just went through. I went out, I came back in, or I just buried a relative, or all that stuff. Then that allowed integration for those parts of myself that I fucking hated and drank to get away from. The sensitive, scared little boy that I've spent 56 fucking years training to lift weights, fight like a motherfucker, put tattoos on it, and covered it in as much body hair as my body can fucking produce. Because that doesn't say don't fuck with me. That says I'm scared as fuck. Please stay away.
How about Mr. Andrew? He is not everyone's cup of tea, but I absolutely love him. Sorry about that abrupt stop, but we will be continuing our conversation next week with Andrew in part 2 of my sit down with Mr. Andrew A. Now, on to a little bit of listener feedback. Oh, I did want to say this. I get a lot of emails in, and there was somebody who wrote me, and it was a woman. She says some very kind things, and then she asked me at the end of the email, she says, hey, have you found some the help you were looking for in recording the episodes? And I somehow I lost that email. I mean, I looked all through my email and I was not able to find it. And also, if you're out there and you're wondering why I didn't read your email, well, maybe it's because I don't like you. Maybe it's because I didn't like your attitude. I'm just kidding. Sometimes they slip through the cracks, not very often, but if you think something slipped through the cracks, let me know. Heck, I'll read it again. I don't care. Write me at John, JOHN, at soberspeak.com. But that lady who said all those really nice things, and then I misplaced her email. And like I said, she was asking me if I'd found that. What I do remember is she said, did you find any virtual help and that sort of stuff? So anyway, ma'am, whoever you are, my apologies. If you want to resend the email, I would love to see it again. All right. Now on to a little bit more listener feedback. Dawn writes in, and the subject line here is Plain Language Big Book. She says, hey, John. Long-time listener, occasional writer. I am by no means a big book expert, but I have some concerns regarding Dave's take. She's talking about Dave F. Dave's take on the release of the PLBB. That, for those of you who don't know, is Plain Language Big Book. She says, the PLBB has been sold through our local intergroup. So I'm concerned that the message is now out there that it can only be obtained by a few connected people. Both of you, me and Dave, admitted you had not seen it or read it. I have actually seen it. I haven't read it, but went on to provide your critiques. Yeah, it's just, hey, isn't that how life is? I mean, no, but you're very right, Dawn. That's not a good thing. She said, she's talking about Bill Wilson himself, cautioned future generations, that would be me, against treating our literature as holy relics. I learned that through one of your podcasts, replaying a talk Bill gave in 1954. I believe it was a conference where Bill formally introduced concepts, ? She says, our big book is reprinted in several different languages, and they were not created to replace the English version. Neither was the PLBB. The big book cautions against, quote, contempt prior to investigation. Don, you're right. Guilty as charged. You reached a lot of folks, and I worried that some opinions were put out there today as facts. She's saying today when she listened to it. Of course, this happens in meetings all the time and frequently by me. Having said that, you reached more than a typical meeting. She's talking to me. I reach more than a typical meeting. I was brought up with the big book, so I am by no means suggesting replace the big book. However, I have someone I think that may benefit I have someone I think may benefit from the PLBB as a helpmate to the big book. I will not hesitate to put it into use. I think it allows us to always be inclusive and never exclusive. One last thought about the availability of the PLBB. It is available on Amazon. Not that I'm recommending or promoting Amazon. Once again, just felt like opinions were expressed as fact. I really appreciate the availability of your podcast. It has been a great addition to my toolbox. Dawn. And there's always a little quote. I've heard from her before, and there's this little quote at the end by Henry James that it says, 3 things in human life are important. The first is to be kind, the second is to be kind, and the third is to be kind. Henry James. Dawn, thank you for writing in, and thank you for your respectful tone. I really appreciate it. That's, it's what AA is all about. I know what it teaches us is to, not to have contempt prior to investigation and to be loving and tolerant. And I really appreciate you writing that in. And for those of you who, I'll just leave it at that. God bless you, Don. Thank you for writing in. Gary writes in, and the subject line is sponsorship. And Gary says, just listen to episode number 166 about sponsorship. What a cool idea and a neat way to have a podcast episode, especially since I had heard each speaker before. Gosh, I can't even remember who I had on page 166. Is that the one I did with the kitchen table guys, or did I do that with David G? A really good podcaster would go look this up before they read it, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Gary. And he says, just wanted to say that I thought that was really cool, and I really enjoyed listening to it. I sent it to a sponsee that wants to start sponsoring others for him to listen to. Keep doing the amazing service work, my friend, Gary B. Gary B., always good to hear from you. And, now that gets me thinking, I should do another episode on sponsorship because I get so many questions about it. It's one of the most asked questions. How do you get a sponsor? What's a good sponsor? All that kind of good stuff. And so I should do another episode on that. But hopefully I'll remember that after I stop recording here. All right, everybody. That there is another episode of Sober Speak in the books. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. I take this 1 week at a time. I hope to be back next week, and may God bless you and keep you until then. Love you guys. I know you have so many things you could do with your time, and I appreciate you listening to my silly little podcast here. Thank you very much. Adios.